Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Send It In, presented by BetMGM here on the BetMGM Network. I'm your host, PJ Glasser. Loaded show for you guys today. Two outstanding guests. We got Isaac Schade joining us to talk about tonight's loaded college basketball slate. We're also going to have Nick Hennion join us to talk a little EPL soccer and the PGA Tour event that we have this week out in Florida. I'm also going to give out my best bets tonight in college hoops, and I'll also preview the Cognizant Classic this week out in Palm Beach. So a lot to get throughout the show today. Any questions, any comments, any best bets that you guys have for us, let us know. You can send them in. Just follow us at the BetMGM Network. You can send them in on X, on YouTube, on Twitch. We'll try and get to them over the next 30 minutes. And if you miss any part of the show over the next 30 minutes, make sure you check out the Send It In podcast, available wherever you get your podcast. Let's get rolling on a Tuesday. Glasses in session. We go to the Glasser guest line, check in with Isaac Schade, who joins us each and every Tuesday here on Send It In. Make sure you guys are giving Isaac a follow on X at Isaac Schade, host of Locked On College Basketball and the Locked On Heels podcast. Isaac, we will start right there with your North Carolina Tar Heels, who are living dangerously right now on the bubble. That last night was one of those games where winning it doesn't really help you immensely, but losing it certainly hurts you. Carolina survives, and they're playing a lot better. Isaac, what do you make of the Heels right now?
I make of the Heels, if they had been doing this all season long, they wouldn't even be sniffing the bubble right now and not worried about it because they'd be safely in the field. But they are where they've put themselves. It's funny, PJ, they have a 6-game stretch that they've finished off 4 of them now, where they're playing 6 teams that are 85th or worse in the net, and simply just, as you said, can't lose any of those games before the regular season finale against Duke. Where Carolina stands today, I think they are still just on the wrong side of the bubble, only one Q1 victory, and that's just not enough. Historically, the net hadn't been around all that long, but, so far we've never had a team make the tournament with just one Q1 win, at least as an at-large. So Carolina desperately either needs to beat Duke or find a couple wins in the ACC tournament to firmly find their way. But I guess if you want to just take it out of the selection committee's hands, see if you can win the whole blessed thing.
That would certainly help as well. Yeah, that game against Duke, regular season finale, is going to be awesome. Can't wait for that one. Isaac, looking at today's slate in college basketball, we only have one top 25 matchup. It feels like a very trappy Tuesday, right? We got a lot of ranked teams on the road, some as big favorites, some as double-digit favorites. You have Florida in a tricky spot at Georgia. Iowa State's a double-digit favorite at Oak State. Louisville's on the road in Blacksburg tonight. Tennessee on the road taking on LSU. When you look at some of these ranked teams on the road against unranked teams, is there a favorite? Is there a ranked team that you think maybe could be on upset alert tonight potentially?
It's funny, PJ, when we have nights like this where most of these Tuesdays have been so bonkers. It's been great. And it's always these kind of nights, right, where it's like, oh, there's only one ranked matchup. I let my guard down. I exhale a little bit. And watch, we're going to go into tonight and have like 37 upsets, and it's going to be a whole thing. No, legitimately looking at this thing, the majority of those teams don't really have much to play for. Oklahoma State, LSU, Virginia Tech, not even close to the bubble right now. But Georgia is. Georgia hosting number 3 Florida right now, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I wish we could have that moniker back. That was such a great thing on the football side of it. Some good news for Florida. Alex Condon is expected to be back tonight, solidifying their front court. Micah Handlogton had come in and started shoring up that front court as well to go along with Florida's dynamic backcourt. But of these teams, I think Georgia is the best of the home dogs we're talking about. Asa Newell is one of the best freshmen in the country that for some reason nobody seems to want to talk about a lot just because we've got so many of them. Silas Demery is great for Georgia. I think this is the team that has the best chance to knock off one of those ranked opponents on the road. Georgia is desperate. They are sliding down the bubble and not looking good right now. Massive statement tonight. So I think it's the Gators that really, really need to be on high alert. But I will say this for Oklahoma State. Iowa State was without their 2 leading scorers on Saturday, Curtis Jones and Keshawn Gilbert. Both of them right now are game time decisions. And so that could be a big boost in favor for the Pokes, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, good point about the Iowa State injuries. Maybe right now you take Oklahoma State 10.5. You look up hour before game time, they're down to 7.5, 6.5. So maybe take a shot there.
Why not?
Why not? Exactly. Only ranked matchup on the board today, Isaac's going to be in Tuscaloosa, number 24 Mississippi State at number 6, Alabama. The Tide are 8.5-point favorites. Anytime you're dealing with the Bama game, the total's always going to be insane. It's 170.5 tonight. What do you make of this game? These two teams played about a month ago in Starkville. Bama was able to escape with the 4-point victory. These games always tend to be pretty close. Who do you like in this one?
I'll say this, PJ. Have you happened to look ahead at Alabama's closing schedule?
I have.
So, folks, for those of you who haven't, after this Mississippi State game, Alabama has to go to Knoxville to number 5 Tennessee. Then they host number 3 Florida. Then they got to close out the regular season at number 1 Auburn. 5-3-1 gross. That means Alabama has to be on high alert, ready to go tonight, because you could literally lose all 3 of those games. In fact, Ken Palm projects them to do so, which is crazy to think about with Alabama. That said, they've got to win this game tonight at home against Mississippi State, and I would say decidedly so. I'm really looking forward to this Josh Hubbard, Mark Sears backcourt matchup. It's going to be great. We were just talking about Florida. Obviously, you got Riley Kugel coming over from the Gators, now playing for Mississippi State this year. That's interesting as well. Obviously, Bama can score on anyone, and they've done so. And they're going to have to, PJ, because in their 14 SEC games, Alabama has given up 80 or more 9 times, including the last 5 games in a row, dude. So they've got to score like crazy. Mark Sears has got to be going, the whole crew. And so I'm going to go Bama 90-80 to cover the 8.5. But what's funny, I didn't even think about the over-under till I started adding it up, and it's going to fall frustratingly half a point shy. So, folks, I'm gonna take the under on this thing, but one free throw one way or the other could change it in the other direction.
Isaac, it's funny you say that. When they played Kentucky on Saturday, the total opened 177.5. It closed 180.5, and it landed on 179. So, these points, man, they all matter, especially when you're dealing with the Bama game. It's crazy when that happens. So we got that one tonight. We got a really good one in the Big Ten tomorrow between Sparty and the Terps. Michigan State is on fire right now. So is Maryland. Isaac, these might be the 2 best teams in the Big Ten. Who do you think wins that game tomorrow?
I battled this one, PJ. I literally sat at my desk here and I put my hands on my head and thought about it for a good long. Start with diaper and end with dandy. It's so good. So if you've not watched a Maryland game yet, folks, treat yourself to one tomorrow night. Make sure you get eyeballs on this guy. But look, it's Tom Izzo. Michigan State, like you said, is rolling right now. They're playing so well. I just think the Terps find some magic at home, and Michigan State is going to be great. They and Michigan have a 2-game lead in the Big Ten right now over Wisconsin with that loss that they had, that crazy collapse against Oregon over the weekend. That was nuts. But I'm going to ride with the Terps on this one. Give it to me.
All right, very good. Who do you think's the best team in the Big Ten, Isaac, right now?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Great question, PJ. Here's the thing. The drought continues. The Big Ten has not won the national championship since 2000, and those Michigan State Spartans, Khalid no, that's UConn. Who am I thinking of? Mateen Cleaves. I'm getting all my short little diminutive point guards messed up there. I really do think it's between the 2 Michigan schools in terms of who's going to win the Big Ten regular season. I think Wisconsin has a shot at best team. John Tonje's been playing great. I think Michigan's talent level is better than Michigan State's. You look at Danny Wolf, man. What a versatile dude this 7-footer is. And so I think what Dusty May has gotten in Ann Arbor might be the best team in not only the state of Michigan, but the Big Ten. The question is, can this first-year head coach pull it out against the legend Tom Izzo, now the Big Ten's winningest all-time coach? We'll see. But I think it's the Wolverines, actually.
Can't wait for that conference tournament. I mean, you can make a case for 6 or 7 different teams. So that's going to be awesome in about 2 weeks. Looking forward to that. Isaac, before we let you go, obviously we got to get the Schade play of the day. What's your best bet on tonight's card?
Ooh, okay. Missouri lost at Arkansas on Saturday. Arkansas desperate, obviously, for a win, but the Tigers, who have been rolling, put up 110 on those Crimson Tide recently. I think they are livid about losing at Arkansas. Mm-hmm. They're favored by 12.5 at home against South Carolina, who just got their first conference win over the weekend. Poor Longhorns, man. Pour one out, horns down. That's for my wife, who's a big Texas fan. Look, Mizzou by 20 in this thing. This line is too small. Give me the Tigers. Friends, that is the Schade play of the day. Let's get it.
Absolutely love it. Isaac Schade, make sure you guys are following him on X at Isaac Schade and check out his podcast, Locked On College Basketball, Locked On Heels as well. Joins us each and every Tuesday right here on Send It In. Isaac, always appreciate the insight, my friend. Enjoy the games tonight. We'll talk again next week.
You guys too. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's keep it rolling. Let's get into tonight's slate. Dive a little bit deeper into all this college basketball action that we have tonight. Again, only the one-ranked matchup between Mississippi State and Bama, but a lot of good betting opportunities. We'll start in the Big East with Providence and number 21 Marquette. Golden Eagles 13.5-point favorites with a total of 149.5. I'm looking towards Providence in this game. Don't think it's going to be an official bet for me. I just really don't like this Marquette team, and I really don't like when they have to win by this many points. The Big East this year is pretty top-heavy, and then there are like some really bad teams this year, so you get a lot of these spreads, and Marquette just isn't as great offensively this year as I think a lot of people thought they would be coming into the season. So 13.5 is a lot of points. Providence has been pesky as an underdog this season. Would probably lean towards the Friars plus the points, but I'm staying away in that game. Then we got number 3 Florida on the road taking on Georgia. The Gators are 6.5-point favorites with a total of 148.5. I like a side and a total in this game. We're going with Georgia plus the points, and we're also taking the under 148.5 as well. I agree with Isaac. If there's any maybe favorite that should be on upset alert tonight, I think it is the Florida Gators. Georgia is on the outside looking in right now on the bubble to try to get into the tournament. They really need a marquee win like this. And I think that they can muck it up and keep it a little bit ugly with Florida. Even though the Gators have a top 5 offense in college basketball, they also have a top 10 defense. So that's what makes Florida so good. They can win games in the 90s, but they can also win games in the 60s or 70s. I tend to think this game could be played in the 70s. So Georgia's got to hit some outside shots. They need a big night from Asa Newell, projected first-round pick in Blue Cane as well. But I like Georgia tonight. This line opened up at 8. It's down to 6.5. We've seen some sharp money come in on the Bulldogs. I'll ride with Georgia tonight, plus the points. I like the under as well. Another underdog I like. Give me the Rambling Wreck of Georgia Tech, plus 8.5 against Pittsburgh in this matchup. Georgia Tech's been really good as an underdog this year in ACC play. They've beaten Louisville and Clemson outright this season. Both those teams only have 2 losses in ACC play, and each of them have suffered a loss to Georgia Tech. So this team tends to play up to the level of their competition. I think they can win this game outright. So I like Georgia Tech plus the 8.5 tonight against Pitt. I like a bounce back for Illinois, minus 10.5 against Iowa. I'd also look at an Illini team total over at 91.5 points. If you've been following college basketball, you know that the Illini are really struggling right now, and they're really struggling to hit shots. On Saturday, they played Duke at Madison Square Garden. They were 2 for 27 from three-point range. So I would expect some positive regression tonight from Illinois. This is a team that is shooting a lot of threes, and they're not making nearly as much as they need to, but luckily they're going up against one of the worst defenses in the Big Ten in Iowa. So I think Illinois scores nearly 100 tonight. I think they cover the 10.5. I like Illinois against Iowa. B-Mills, I see you're also on Illinois tonight, so I'm with you there in that game. Then we got Mississippi State against Alabama, the only top 25 matchup on the card tonight. I'm going to take a first half under in this game at 81.5. Now, usually when these two teams play, and they always play twice a year, one in Starkville and one in Tuscaloosa, usually the games in Starkville tend to be higher scoring. The games in Tuscaloosa tend to be lower scoring. And I think in the first half tonight, I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. 81.5 is a lot of points, right? So, I mean, Bama probably needs to get like 45. Mississippi State needs to get like 40, 36, somewhere in that neighborhood. Bama has really started slow in their last 3 games, and I think the message that Nate Oates is going to have tonight is for them to start fast, have their defense intensity be really good. Mississippi State is also a good defensive team, so I'll go first half under at 81.5. The spread I'm staying away from. Isaac brought up a great point. After this game, Bama's final 3 games are Tennessee, Florida, and Auburn. Literally the number 5, number 3, and number 1 team in the country. It's one of the toughest finishes to a season I've ever seen in college basketball. So how can Bama not be looking ahead to that a little bit? They do have a really tough opponent and a ranked opponent in Mississippi State tonight. That's why I'm not touching the spread, but I like first half under in Bama and Mississippi State. Another underdog I like tonight. Give me LSU plus 10.5 against Tennessee. Nice sandwich spot to fade Tennessee. top 10 matchup against A&M on Saturday. They got Bama upcoming in Knoxville on Saturday as well. LSU played Florida really tough over the weekend. They were beating them for much of the second half until the Gators came back. But Tennessee is the kind of team that I look to fade as a big favorite because they can really struggle offensively. If Chaz Lanier and Tennessee are hitting their three-pointers, then you know what? We're going to lose our bet, and so be it. But Tennessee is a very streaky offensive team, and they can really go cold, especially from three-point range. If they do, not only will LSU cover this game, they might have a chance to pull off the outright upset. So I'll take LSU plus the points. Really good game out in the Mountain West between San Diego State and New Mexico State. I'll take the Aztecs minus 2.5. These kind of games that we get between the Mountain West teams with the Utah States and the Boise's and the New Mexicos and the San Diego States, whenever these teams play at home, they usually take care of business. Aztecs, one of the best defense in the country. They're really tough to beat on their home floor. So I'll take San Diego State minus 2.5. And then a tough one for Gonzaga tonight on the road against Santa Clara. The Zags are one of the most overrated teams in college basketball. I think a lot of people just look at the front of the jersey and see Gonzaga. They're 11th in Ken Pom and think that they could be a dark horse in March Madness this year. Guys, Gonzaga's frauds. They're no good. They haven't really beaten anybody this year. Santa Clara is a pesky team. This spread should probably be closer to like a 3.5. So I'm staying away. It feels a little trappy, but my lean would be towards Santa Clara tonight against Gonzaga. All right, let's talk some golf here on Send It In, a little golfing with Glasser on this Tee It Up Tuesday. And our event this week is the Cognizant Classic out at PGA National as we start the Florida swing. 7,054 yards. It's a par 71, features Bermuda grass greens, and it's a tough golf course. One of the tougher courses that they play yearly on the PGA Tour, and it's also one of those courses that becomes extremely difficult if the conditions are tough. You go past over the last decade, 15 years, and the winning scores at this event have been single digits. So sometimes the winning score can be 7 under, 8 under, 9 under par. It's a tough week. What you're looking for this week is accurate golfers. There's a lot of danger all over this course. They have the famous bear trap holes 15 through 17 that are really difficult, but you got to be accurate. There's danger off the tee. There's danger when you're trying to approach into the greens. There's water all over the course. So accurate golfers are what we are looking for this week. We're certainly looking for guys that are great strokes gained and all those sorts of things. Daniel Berger is the first guy that I'm looking at 25-1. Played his college ball at Florida State, lives in the state of Florida, really likes playing at this golf course, has had 2 top 5 finishes in 2 of the last 5 years, and he's starting to get healthy, and he's starting to look like Daniel Berger again. So I think he's worth a bet at 25-1. Also like Taylor Pendrith at 28-1. Pendrith's one of the better ball strikers in the field this week. I really like Pendrith's game. I thought there would be some events that he would be a little bit more competitive in so far this season, but I think this is a good one where he can separate himself. If he drives the ball like he is capable of this week and he can make some putts, Pendrith should be in contention. I also like Lucas Glover this week at 55-1. You look at some of the course history at this event, and some of the older golfers have played pretty well here. Zach Johnson's done well here. Danny Willett has done well here. Again, this isn't a course where you need to be long off the tee. It's all strategy golf. It's all keeping it in the fairway, hitting greens. Par is going to be a good score a lot of times on this course and on a bunch of these holes. There's only 2 par 5s. There are a couple long par 4s, some tough par 3s. So Lucas Glover's a steady guy. And again, if conditions are tough, I think he could grind it out and be towards the top of the leaderboard. So I like him. And then Chris Kirk at 80-1. Whenever they tee it up at like a long big boy golf course, if they're playing at Torrey Pines or they're playing at Bethpage Black, no interest in Chris Kirk. But if they're playing on a positional golf course like the Cognizant Classic at PGA National, that's where I want to back Chris Kirk. He was a winner here a couple years ago, back in 2013. He's a really good putter. He grew up in Georgia, so he's used to the Bermuda grass greens. I think Chris Kirk at 80-1, I think it's a really good price for him to contend this week. So that's what I'm on. Daniel Berger, Taylor Pendrith, Lucas Glover, and Chris Kirk, a couple of guys that I like this week at PGA National. Let's go to the Lions Den, though. Check in with our guy, Nick Hennion, find out what he likes this week at the Cognizant Classic, senior writer for BetMGM. Make sure you guys are following Nick on X at Nick Hennion. Nick, we'll get to some of your golf thoughts here in a moment, but you do such a great job covering soccer. We got some big EPL matches today, tomorrow. Want to get your thoughts on that. Let's start with today's slate. What are some bets that you like in the English Premier League today?
Yeah, hi PJ. Good to be with you. Three markets I like in the EPL today. We'll lead it off with Crystal Palace draw no bet against Aston Villa. Palace, they've run so unlucky at home this year. -9 goal differential at Selhurst Park compared to a +2 expected goal differential. That's the biggest underperformance in the entire Premier League in terms of, metrics at home. So Villa have not looked very good when they're forced to travel on a short rest period this week. And their win over Chelsea on Saturday was a little bit lucky by the underlying metrics. So give me Palace, draw no bet against Aston Villa. And then I'm going to Brighton against Bournemouth. I like Brighton on the money line and Brighton's team total over 1.5. Ilya Zabarny is suspended for Bournemouth. You compound that with a bunch of injuries in defense for the Cherries, and Andoni Iraola is going to have to deploy a makeshift backline against Brighton. Cleared this number earlier this season when they played at Bournemouth. 1.6 post-shot XG in the first hour before they had a man sent off. A lot of Bournemouth's attacking quality came after Brighton had a guy sent off in that game. So I think you see the Seagulls earn all 3 points, and I like them clearing 1.5 goals in this game.
All right, very good. I like it. So a couple of bets for today's slate in the EPL from our guy, Nick. What about for tomorrow, Nick? We got a couple of monster matchups on the slate. Any bets that you're eyeing for tomorrow?
I am all aboard the Arsenal fade train right now. They just don't have any healthy attackers, and they're going to Nottingham Forest as a road favorite. Without those pieces, I just don't like laying that number with Arsenal. Forest, there's a slight concern that they just received a blowout loss when they traveled to play Arsenal, but that was a much different team than Arsenal over the weekend played a West Ham defense that's bottom 5 in both expected goals against and post-shot expected goals against. They created just over 1 XG and zero point 0.1 post-shot XG. Now they're taking a step up in competition against a really good Forest defense. I don't know how you're getting a half goal. I think as these teams are currently constructed, this should be a pick. So I think you're getting a free half goal in this game. And I like Forest to get points. I sprinkled the money line too at +320. So give me, fade Arsenal in the spot. It's as simple as that.
I like it. Did you do anything in that Man City game tomorrow, Nick, or do you only like the bet with Forest tomorrow?
Yeah, I like over 3.5 goals in Man City against Tottenham. Both defenses are terrible. Historically, this fixture has produced goals because neither team can defend, especially in the Postecoglou era with Tottenham. So I like over 3.5 there. One more worth mentioning tomorrow, over 3.5 in Liverpool-Newcastle. Liverpool might clear this number on their own. Newcastle can't defend any good attack. So I like over 3.5 in both Man City, Tottenham, and Liverpool against Newcastle.
All right, excellent. So some stuff to look out for today and tomorrow in the English Premier League. Nick, what about on the PGA Tour? We got the Florida Swing underway. We got some big events coming up, right? We got the Arnold Palmer Invitational. We got the Players Championship. So it's another kind of bye week in the schedule for a lot of the big names. So there's a lot of great value on the board this week. Right now, the favorites are 20-1. What kind of golfers are you looking for this week at the Cognizant Classic?
I really like Sepp Straka toward the top of the board. It's sort of a buy low opportunity on him after a weak performance at Torrey Pines in the Genesis a few weeks ago. But across this field, Straka has proven the most consistent player in terms of ball striking metrics. 5th in strokes gained tee to green this calendar year, 4th on approach. You were talking about it earlier. The key to this course is just avoid the danger. And so I'm looking to guys who are just steady with the irons, can put the ball on the green, give themselves a few birdie chances. He's 22-1, I think, last I checked, went to win the tournament outright. I really like a +110 bet on him to record a top 20 finish. He missed the cut here last year, but in the 2 years prior at PGA National, a pair of top 5 finishes in each. So I like Sepp Straka this week. Another name further down the board I like this as a buy low opportunity on Billy Horschel at 55 to 1 to win the tournament. The form has not been good recently for Horschel. Two miscuts in a row, miscuts in three of his last four events. But if you look at that one event where he didn't miss the cut, it was a T9th at Pebble Beach, which is a similar course profile to PGA National. And he was finished in a tie for ninth here last year and has produced really good approach metrics. I have him 23rd in the field in strokes gained approach this calendar year. If the irons can just prove as consistent as they've been in this year so far, he's at his most comfortable putting on Bermuda grass and has really performed well at this event in the past. So 55 to 1 for an outright, plus 400 for a top 10, plus 200 for a top 20. I think I really like that a lot. So Billy Horschel, Sepp Straka are the guys I'm looking at this week.
Nick, do you think this is a week where you would recommend for bettors maybe to bet like guys in the top 20? Because this could be the only time all year on the PGA Tour where every golfer is pretty much plus money to finish top 20, right? Like we all want to hit an outright, but do you think that placement bets could be the way to go this week for people?
Yes, because I think when you have these events that are so even across the board, you don't have a guy like Scottie Scheffler or Rory McIlroy or Ludwig Oberg in there who are going to take up a lot of the win equity in the outright market. I do think you can kind of look to your guy and say, okay, this is my golfer this week, whether it be Straka or Taylor Pendrith, as you mentioned, or someone like Russell Henley, who has played very well at this golf course. Because it's so even across the board, you are seeing a little bit more, I hate to call it value because it's such a cliche term, but I do like taking that, looking for those plus money opportunities to supplement those outright tickets that, you know, you only get one finishing position with those markets. There's a reason the payouts are so high versus, I mean, Straka, he's first overall in my mixed condition model for the week, and I'm getting plus money on 20 finishing positions for him this week. So I do recommend people look to those and try to find ways to take plus money bets this week at the Cognizant.
Yeah, love it. It's going to be an interesting week. We saw a lot of birdies at the Mexico Open. Don't know if we're going to see that this week at the Cognizant Classic. Nick Hennion, give him a follow on X at Nick Hennion, senior writer for BetMGM, joining us every Tuesday here on Send It In. Nick, good luck to you, sir, this week. We'll talk again next week.
Thank you. You too, PJ. Good luck.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, let's wrap up the show. PJ's plays here on Send It In. So, B-Mills, I see that you liked Illinois minus 9.5, minus 10.5. I think that's a great bet against Iowa. I see you like the Wisconsin team total over 82.5 against Washington. I think that's a great bet, too. Wisconsin's offense has been on such a heater. They really struggled in the second half against Oregon, but going up against a bad Washington team, I think they get back rolling. So I like that look, B-Mills, with taking the Badgers over team total. My prop lock for today is going to be Kasparis Yakachonis over 17.5 points tonight for Illinois against Iowa. I like the Illinois team total over 91.5. I like Illinois to cover the spread. So I think they're going to score a bunch of points. I'll take Yakachonis over 17.5 points. My dog of the day is going to be Georgia Tech plus 8.5 against Pitt. I really like the Yellow Jackets to cover this game, maybe even win it outright. They've been pretty good as an underdog this year in ACC play, upsetting Clemson and Louisville. Keep an eye out for Georgia Tech tonight. And then my favorite bet, it's a nasty one, but we're taking LSU, plus the 10.5 against Tennessee. Tennessee is a very high variance three-point shooting team. If they're knocking down their threes, we're probably going to lose this bet. I'm banking on the fact, though, that since they were red hot against A&M, they're probably not going to be tonight against LSU. Give me the Tigers, plus 10.5 against Tennessee. Thanks again, Isaac Schade, Nick Hennion, for joining us today on the show. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Good luck on all your bets. See you tomorrow.